When I was a kid, I pretended I was a boy and my bike was a horse. My favorite TV show was Bonanza, and I made up lots of stories about visiting the Ponderosa or going on horse rides with Little Joe and Hoss. My favorite story went like this. My mother's brief affair with Ben Cartwright ended badly, and he never knew of my conception. She did her best to raise me, but during one bad winter, she developed a high fever. I stayed by her bedside, but finally, she succumbed to the illness. Without a mom or dad, I had to rely on my inner resources. So I disguised myself as a boy. I rode horses and herded cattle and did odd jobs around the ranches and farms in the Nevada Territory. One hot August day, I found myself thirsty and hungry at the gates of the Ponderosa. I arrived there, as I did at many ranches, simply to claim a wage and a cot. But I got more than I bargained for at the Ponderosa. The moment Ben Cartwright saw me, he noticed that my eyes were just like his, and he said, "Welcome home, son." Then Hoss and Adam and Little Joe gathered around me in that big room just below the staircase, and in that moment, I became a Cartwright too. I had my very own room, my very own Appaloosa, my very own chores, and my favorite meal prepared by the best cook anywhere, Hop Sing. No one knew I was a girl. That would be the end of my Cartwright identity. Who ever heard of a Cartwright daughter? It would ruin the whole show. In some way, maybe I knew I was pretending when every night at 7, I sat down to watch Bonanza reruns. Mom let me eat dinner on the floor in front of the TV. Anyone who knows my mom knows it's a big deal for her to let me eat anywhere other than at the kitchen table. But she soon found out it was to her advantage. At the kitchen table, I refused to eat my vegetables. But at the Ponderosa, I always ate them. Hop Sing had a way with carrots and peas. Boys had the most fun, I thought. And to be a Cartwright son seemed the best way to be a boy. But by the time I was 15, I had breasts and hips and a monthly bleeding that gave me cramps for one full day. Once, during a particularly bad period, Mom let me stay home from school and she went off to work. I snuck some blackberry brandy out of the cabinet and sat down to watch a Bonanza rerun. Little Joe got hit on the head and ended up with amnesia. He fell in love with the woman who nursed him back to health. But as soon as he remembered who he was, a Cartwright, he had to ride home to Pa and Adam and Hoss, who of course had looked everywhere for him. He introduced them to his new love. But by the next commercial, she had been shot with an arrow through the heart while on a morning ride along the river. Side saddle, of course. Little Joe found her, barely breathing, offered her some water from his canteen, and begged her not to die. But she did die, as all women did on the Ponderosa, as I might have done once they found me out. The combination of blackberry brandy and Bonanza soothed my cramps and made me wish, once again, that I could ride the range and herd the cattle with the boys. I didn't want to be a girl with corsets and side saddles and arrows to the heart. I drank more brandy and fell asleep. I had a dream. My Appaloosa, named Starry Night, was in my backyard. I came out the screen door and walked up to her. I climbed on her back, and she took this giant leap over the fence and into the sky. There I was, riding Starry Night inside a starry night. And then I wasn't there at all. There were just stars and the night, no more me. That's how the dream went. When I woke up, my cramps were gone. I looked outside and I felt the Ponderosa calling. That sprawling ranch house, the horse trough right in front, the barn where all those brotherly talks and fist fights happened. My mom would be home from work soon. I got on my bike and took off. I rode for miles through Virginia City and out again, over mesas, across creeks, and past some of the biggest boulders you'll ever see. It had been a long time since I rode so long and far. I rode until it was night, and the moonlight led me to a clearing. The clearing was really my backyard, and I could see the lights on inside and Mom sitting at the kitchen table. When I walked in the door, Mom said, "Where were you?" "Looking for Ben," I answered. "Who's Ben?" she wanted to know. I went up to my room, I turned out all the lights and lit a candle. Then I sat on my bed. The candle was a campfire. There must be a way, I thought, to find my boyhood again, to lose my hips and my breasts, to stop the bleeding. I was a Cartwright after all, and Cartwrights always found a way to get back home. I closed my eyes and felt the warmth of the fire on my skin. Starry Night nudged me with her nose, and I climbed up on her back. We were on our way to find Ben Cartwright, and when we did, he would see that my eyes were just like his.
We chased Lady Luck till we finally struck Bonanza. With a gun and a rope and a hat full of hope, we planted our family tree. We got a hold of a pot full of gold. Bonanza.